The Sega Master System was Sega's 8-bit entry into the world of video game consoles. A huge success in Europe, it was unfortunately far less successful in places such as the United States and its native Japan. However, Europe was not to be the only place the Master System was successful. Indeed, Brazil, of all places, became the Master System's spiritual home for a long time after the machine had died out in the rest of the world. This was down to the efforts of the local Brazilian company Tec Toy, who licensed the hardware from Sega, manufactured it in Brazil, and kept producing games for it years after the console's lifespan everywhere else. Some of these games were reskins of existing titles to meet Brazilian localization needs. Some of them were conversions from the Game Gear and provided the Master System with titles that you perhaps wouldn't expect to find on the system. So, with that said, today I'm going to look at two games that a lot of people probably didn't know existed for the Master System, and they're both Game Gear conversions, and they would be Mortal Kombat 3 and Sonic Blast. So, without further ado, let's have a look at these two games you probably didn't know exist. So, here's Mortal Kombat 3. As you can see, minimalistic title screen, and you can tell by how small the graphics are here that it's been converted quickly and dirtily from the Game Gear with minimal effort put into making it look more like a Master System game. Certainly it looks reasonable, no worse at this point than, say, the original Mortal Kombat for the Master System, but once we get into the game, there are a few differences which do sort of change things up a bit. As you can see, some cheat codes going in here. This looks okay. It looks fine while it's static, but once it's moving, it's definitely slower and jerkier than the original. Now, obviously, this is being done on a system which is woefully underpowered for what it's attempting to achieve. We're talking about a machine here using a Z80 processor. The Z80 was developed in the 1970s and has been in systems such as the ZX Spectrum. Having said that, the Master System is capable of more than this in the right hands, but as I said, with it just being a fairly quick and dirty conversion from the Game Gear, minimal optimization was done apart from making the playfield a bit bigger so you've got more to the left and right. The sound is terrible, frankly, and it just isn't an enjoyable game to play, but the sheer fact that it exists and it was sold is quite incredible, really. And then next we have Sonic Blast. Sonic Blast was the fourth 8-bit version of the Sonic franchise, and again was originally released just for the Game Gear, but the boys at Tec Toy in Brazil converted it to the Master System, and again it's another quick and dirty conversion. Slight tweaks to the graphics to work with the Master System's lower colour palette, but as you can see by the sheer size of the borders, minimal work was actually put in. The graphics in this one are interesting given that it followed the at the time trend for using pre-rendered 3D sprites instead of traditional sprite work, and that lends it an interesting look if you ask me. As you can see, it looks a bit rough. When you think about how good Sonic and Sonic 2 looked for the Master System, this just doesn't cut it at all. It's slow, it's jerky, it looks rough, it looks unfinished, it's just not a good visual game, and you can tell when you see it in action here, the Master System is absolutely straining at its limits. It's just being pushed further and further than its creators ever intended it to go. And to me, this affects how the game plays. It doesn't have that snap that you expect from a Sonic game. But again, it's one of those titles that you probably didn't know existed because it came out in such a small market. So there you go. There's two games you probably didn't know didn't know existed for the Sega Master System. And let's be fair, most people wouldn't know they existed at all had it not been for the internet. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you haven't liked the video, hit dislike. Let me know what you think of it. Until next time, I'm Learned Rob, and this has been 81632-bit.